What was more disappointing? The Eagles' season that ended last Sunday against the 49ers, or the Phillies' offseason, where we all got punched in the gut on Friday when Bo Bichette, who looked like he was coming to Philadelphia, decided to change course and go to the hated New York Mets. What was more disappointing? Let's start with the Phillies offseason, Ricky, because I want to remind everybody as to what Jason Stark said when he joined our show on Friday, because we all felt like Bo's going to be a Philly. And then Friday, right before we come on the air, the news breaks he's going to New York. Here was Jason Stark, Hall of Fame writer for The Athletic.
You know, Bill, if you'd had me on yesterday, I would not have foreshadowed this. I thought other teams thought the Phillies had positioned themselves as the clear favorite to sign Bo. I think they were. I think they thought they were. I got the sense there was a lot of excitement inside that front office about adding Bo, even though it would have created some complications in other ways. Just the whole sequence of events of Kyle Tucker signing for what he signed for, and then the Mets kind of following that model and offering him an insane average annual salary as opposed to the years that the Phillies are trying to entice him with. And it's all a big never mind now, except for the part where I'm pretty sure Bo Bichette shouldn't expect a real hospitable welcome when the Mets arrive in town.
So it's all just a big never mind now. And then they turn around and they give JT Realmuto 3 years, $45 million. So let me ask you, Ricky, listening to Jason Stark remind you of how close it was that they get Bichette.
Yep.
And then watching the divisional round playoffs yesterday, where you mentioned the Niners get absolutely destroyed from the opening kickoff against the Seahawks, what was more disappointing for you, this Phillies offseason or the Eagles season that ended last week?
Oh, man. You know what? That is a great question. And I'm going to say, as of right now, I got to go with the Eagles. I have to go with the Eagles. That is a team in the 49ers that were decimated. I mean, they came in here and beat up on the Eagles. I mean, maybe we as a fan base did not see it coming. Maybe the thought process was, okay, the pedigree's going to pick this team back up. We know that they're much better than this Niners team. All they have to do is show it on the field, and that didn't happen. So I guess that maybe a little bit more disgust from losing to the 49ers at home. I think that brings me towards the Niners. But if you vote Phillies, I wouldn't be against you. How's that? I mean, that's the one thing that I could look at is that the Phillies, I feel like it's a run-back situation again. And that's the last thing most of these fans wanted. Why do you think everybody was so excited about Bo Bichette? Because it was new.
It signaled a change. Yeah,
yes.
It signaled change. See, now, you're right. I think either answer you could make a good argument for as being massively disappointing. But I'm actually going with the Phillies because with the Philadelphia Eagles, as disappointing as the season was, and I know we've gone back and forth on the morning show saying the season was a disaster, we knew coming into the season, though, that it wasn't going to be easy to repeat as Super Bowl champs. It's not something that's been done very often. Now, we didn't expect the offense to look as bad as it looked all season long, but I never really had these crazy dreams that they were going to repeat as Super Bowl champions. We did think it was going to be a difficult road. Now, it did end sooner than I thought it would end. But the reason I'm voting Phillies is because the season hasn't even started yet, and we have this bad taste in our mouth of 162 games are coming, 8 months of a season is coming, and it's, oh, man. No matter how good they are, what are we all going to be thinking? No matter how good they start in March, April, May, or June, we're going to be worried about October, and it's never going to feel good knowing, here we go again,
until they
bats.
win a series in the playoffs.
Correct. That's why I'm more disappointed.
That is a terror. That's a good way to look at it. That's probably what most fans are thinking right now is that, okay, we're going to do well during the regular season. It's going to be the same old book that we've been reading once we get to the playoffs. That, I think, probably, you know what, in the back of my mind is that's probably the root of the evil with the Phillies is that, okay, we know what the regular season could look like, but why doesn't it look like that in the playoffs? And you're going to run it back with the same type of lineup. But they'll give you, we made our bullpen stronger, okay? The starting rotation, though, may be weaker. We don't know that. Yeah. That's an unknown right now for the Phillies. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. You made the bullpen stronger, but what did you do to the roster, to the lineup, to make it look different? Don't give me Justin Crawford. Don't say, well, we brought in Justin Crawford, and there it is.
Adolis Garcia, man. And his 280 OBP, that's coming.
You don't know what he's bringing to the table. I mean,
well, we know he has an under 300 OBP. That's not good.
And that's odd because that's the last thing the Phillies look for is a guy under 300 with an OBP, especially when they go and sign somebody. I look at this and they said, oh, let's go find another Nick Castellanos. Is that not what they did?
Well, and Casty's OBP is higher than that, right? What was his OBP last year?
I don't know exactly what it was, but yes, I believe it is higher than that. I'll look it up.
Yeah, let's see. Nick Castellanos last season had an OBP of 294, and in the 3 years before that was over 300.
Yep.
So his OBP in Philadelphia was higher than what you're getting in Adolis Garcia. But here's the more frustrating thing.
Isn't the problem with when you look at the lineup, where did they get better?
Yeah, they did not. There's nowhere in the lineup where you could say they have.
Can Trey Turner hit better? Probably not.
Can Schwarber have a better year?
Schwarber, probably not. Those numbers were ridiculous.
Now, here's the big question, and this is why I'm so disappointed with the Bichette news and the way this offseason's gone. Can Bryce Harper be better, right? And what would help Bryce Harper have a better season? How about get him some protection? I almost said something I shouldn't have said. How about get him some protection behind him at the cleanup spot as opposed to just rolling back Alec Boehm as your cleanup hitter? That's why I am more disappointed in the Phillies offseason, because I think we would all agree for the Phillies to get to where we all want them to get, Bryce Harper has to be the, quote, elite player that he has been in previous years. And the best way to do that is to finally get the guy some protection behind him in this lineup, and you're not going to have it again. You're going to have Alec Boehm as your cleanup hitter, slapping at the ball, Ricky. That's our cleanup hitter. We got a slap hitter who's going, all right, he'll hit some doubles. He takes what the pitcher gives him. I mean, in all honesty, that's what he does. He doesn't want to strike out, so what does he do? He puts the bat on the ball. You get a lot of those singles through the right side because that's the type of player he is. But is that going to be enough to protect a guy like Bryce Harper? The answer is probably not. I mean, where are you going to – is there anybody still out there? By the way, I had a friend of mine, Jason, talk to me the other day, text me the other day, says, what about Luis Ariz? Yeah, what do you think about that? Would that move the needle
fall
for
out
you?
of bed and hits 300.
Would that move the needle for you?
I don't know about moving the needle, but it would be a nice addition. I don't know how much he's looking for.
And what about Eugenio Suarez?
Eugenio Suarez, that'll give you some pop. I mean, he does hit the ball out of the ballpark. That would be a good guy to put behind Bryce Harper if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, he's got the power.
A guy that has some power, could actually hit in a lineup that is structured as is. And, I mean, bottom line is, you need a confidence level on this team offensively somehow. And I don't know where it's coming from right now because I don't know if rolling back the same type of lineup of last year is the answer.
We have a good club.
Yeah, you could have as good of a club as you like.
When the news got reported that the Phillies were interested in Bo Bichette, that they were involved, we said it on this show. Now that that's out there, it's going to be a massive disappointment if they don't get him. Because if they were never rumored to be involved on the Bichette news, nothing would have really changed. We would have been sitting here today, all right, not thrilled with the way the offseason went, but we wouldn't have been massively disappointed because you got our hopes up.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to say to my kids, hey, we might go for ice cream after dinner.
We might.
All right? And then after dinner, Dad, are we going for ice cream? No. They're going to be like, but you told us we might go. Like, you can't do that.
Well,
That's basically what they did to us as Phillies fans.
You put might in there.
We heard it. They're the favorites. Now, look, how frustrated can you be with the Phillies when they did meet his demands, but you have no backup plan now? Like, Dombrowski acknowledged we need a better right-handed bat that we could put in this lineup, especially behind Bryce Harper to protect him. And now that you missed out on him, well, all right, what's the encore here, Dave? Like, what's your pivot? And don't tell me JT Realmuto. You got to do something.
That was the pivot. That was the move. That was, you know what's funny? I don't think it's a bad move because I think he's a good catcher. Do I think 3 years is too much? Yeah, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about 3 years down the road. I think it was almost the necessity because of the fact that when you look at JT Realmuto and what he brings defensively to this team, and let's face it, mindset-wise for the pitchers, what he brings to this team is very high up, and it's extremely important.
All right, so maybe this terrible week that we just had in Philadelphia sports is going to start taking a turn because we just got some breaking news, expected news, But some breaking news. We don't have to hit the breaking news button because I think everyone expected this, but maybe this can be a step in the right direction for Philadelphia sports. Tyrese Maxey named an all-star, starting all-star for the Eastern Conference. Well-deserved for Tyrese Maxey. That was announced about 10 minutes ago from the NBA. Tyrese Maxey, his second all-star appearance, but his first time named as a starter. Pretty cool for Tyrese.
That is pretty cool. Good for him. Deserves it. Started the season off very, very strong. Now, just got to have everybody kick in together would be nice. But, I mean, lately they've been skidding a little bit, but I think that could be turned around. So, good for him. You know what? If there is a player here in Philadelphia right now that has kind of raised eyebrows, it's him. I mean, Tyrese Maxey has been outstanding. He has taken the bull by the horns, if you will. He's put the team on his back, especially when they needed him early on this season. And you know what? You reap the rewards, right?
Yeah, so good for him. Congratulations for Tyrese Maxey. Sixers back in action tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. They got the Pacers tonight. But I want to keep it with the main question of the day. What was more disappointing for you as a Philadelphia sports fan, the Eagles' season or the Phillies' offseason? You can hit us up on the text board. You can send your voice memos in, 610-632-0975. We will get to the Eagles' offensive coordinator search because they're already rumored to be requesting interviews of quite a few OC candidates that we have to get to. And now there's 8 more vacancies in the head coaching search in the NFL. 2 of them have already been filled. There were 10 head coaches fired this offseason. Harbaugh's with the Giants now. Kevin Stefanski, who was an offensive coordinator candidate here in Philly, is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And then this morning, after what happened yesterday, Sean McDermott fired by the Buffalo Bills.
Gone.
So what does that mean for Brady, their OC? So there's a lot of questions. We will get to the OC search in a second, but Silvana said people are already flowing with the text in on what was more disappointing, Eagles season, Phillies offseason. So let's get some texts in here from people on this wonderful Martin Luther King Jr. Day. What do you got, Sil?
All right, so we have a lot weighing in so far. Now we have Joey who says, I'm more disappointed with the Eagles because the Phillies gave Bo everything he wanted and he still signed elsewhere. The Birds were just not good all year.
I mean, I see where they're coming from. I understand that the Phillies did what they were asked. I mean, when you think about it, Bo Bichette asked for the 7-year deal for $200 million. Phillies said, okay, we got you. We're good. Let's do this. And by the way, think about this for a second. They went to bed. Dave Dombrowski, Preston Mattingly, they went to bed that night.
Celebrating.
They probably went out for a dinner and said, we got him. We got him. Fans are going to love us tomorrow. And then they woke up in the morning. Ooh, that hangover must have been nasty.
Dombrowski put his head on the pillow before closing his eyes and said, we got a pretty good club.
Now we got a really good club.
Now we have a really good club. Bo Bichette will be joining the club.
He was probably practicing that.
I'll tell you, though, that is frustrating. It is. It's frustrating. But the problem that I'm having more than just, okay, they gave Bichette what he wanted and he went to the Mets is, okay, well, what's your move now? As a good general manager, as a good president of baseball operations, you have to have some sort of contingency plan. You have to have something in place where it's, okay, we've missed out on Bo, which you had to know was a possibility when you were in those negotiations. What's plan B? And I don't think they had a plan B. And don't sell us on the idea of, all right, it's just going to be Alec Boehm again. It's just going to be JT Realmuto. And in essence, like Ricky pointed out to start the show, point to an area where they have gotten substantially better. All right, bullpen, maybe. And I know everybody's just saying that as like a foregone conclusion, the bullpen's better. We're putting a lot on Jose Alvarado's shoulders this season. We don't know how he's going to respond when he's not on whatever performance-enhancing drug he was on.
And I know a lot of people will say, well, he came back last year and he was hurt and this and that. Well, that could have been because he was off for 80 games and you try to come back. Think about this for a second. That would be like joining a team without a spring training and seeing how well you pitch. You know what's going to happen. You're going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. You're going to try to throw harder. Then your arm starts to hurt. Then you end up on the IL, and that's that. I think that's exactly what happened to him last year. I expect him to come back and throw the ball extremely well. You have to. He basically had a year off.
I'm hopeful, but I don't think you could say, Ricky, with a foregone conclusion, Alvarado, yeah, he's going to have a good season.
No, but they also brought in 3 guys to try to strengthen that bullpen.
Not from the left side.
No.
right? They brought in some righties.
Tanner Banks.
Tanner Banks is your big left-hander. All right, so here's what we got going on today. We're going to talk about the Eagles OC coming up right now, but coming up at 3 o'clock today, if you missed it on Friday, Joe Santoliquito from Bleeding Green Nation. Now, remember who Joe is. Joe's the guy who was the first reporter in the city to start writing about the questions that the Eagles had with Carson Wentz. You remember way back, and a lot of people came after Santoliquito for that report. Oh, he's making this up. There's nothing wrong with Carson Wentz. He's a great teammate. And then what happened? All the other reporters started to pick up on it about 6 months later, and it proved that Joe was right about Carson Wentz. Well, he put out a report on Friday that this season, multiple times throughout the season, A.J. Brown requested a trade. Santoliquito is going to be joining us at 3 o'clock because I have a lot of questions for him to explain that report. You're not going to want to miss that coming up at 3 o'clock. But as the Eagles search for the next OC, I want to remind you what Nick Sirianni said at the end of season press conference about this OC search they're going to do. Listen to the head coach.
Our job right now and our thought process right now is to get the best candidate possible, cast a wide net there, and interview some of these great candidates that are out there and find the best guy that fits the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, so he said cast a wide net. I'll tell you what, the Eagles are casting a wide net because coming up, we will talk about all of the offensive coordinators who are already being reported as interviewed or interviews have been requested. You're going to want to hear this long list, and I'll tell you what Tim McManus said they should be looking for in their next OC, and it pertains to Jalen Hurts. You're going to love this one. Coming up next, Unfiltered, 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia.